I wanted to take a bit of your time today to actually talk about something that has been really interesting to me and something that I've wanted to make a video about for a while now, and I finally feel like I got enough information to do it. Now, before we start, I have to say that obviously I have never played on the Korean server, nor will I probably ever play League of Legends on the Korean server. I do not live in Korea, and I have only ever played on the North American server. However, thanks to the beautiful technology that we have, there are ways to spectate, watch replays, and see live games of matches that are played in Korea. The best way to do so is actually to go to op.gg. You can sort by any champion you would like, so if you wanted to look for just Riven players, you could do that if you so choose, and you will see on most of the players in Korean solo queue, they do in fact have replays that are ready and available to watch. You can also just check out their streams over on Afrika. A lot of them do stream on Afrika, not Twitch, but like Faker streams on Twitch now, so there are some of them on Twitch. You can also check out YouTube videos. As I've said in the past, I like to watch GTT's videos, who is the highest rated Korean Riven, LS's content, who is an analyst for the LCK. He lives in Korea, he plays in Korea. There are a bunch of ways to access these games and watch replays of the Korean server. And I'm sure there are some ways that I didn't even mention or didn't know about that you can use to watch and analyze full games on the Korean server, but these are just the ways that I have used. This all started about a month and a half ago when I wanted to expand my overall knowledge about the game even further, and I was trying to think about ways to do this back in early March because my internet was starting to tilt me like crazy. I've been having this really bad jitter, and I can't even play more than like 2 games of solo queue per day because the lag is just so bad. So until I fix it or get it fixed at some point, I needed to come up with something because grinding solo queue was just out of the question. So I thought, okay, well, I can just watch some streams during the day, and at nighttime I can go over the replays of my 2 games that I play per day, and I did that for a few days. But the 2 games were not enough. They really weren't enough, and I didn't know exactly what I could learn from watching them. So then I thought I can always go on op.gg, and I'm pretty sure that there are Korean replays that are ready and available for me, and one night I started to do that, and it became like a crack addiction for me. I remember one night specifically spending over 5 hours just looking over Riven players and watching what they did. Even the games where they fed and did bad, I just wanted to see what went wrong. And after a week of doing this, it just occurred to me that if I do enough of this and I can take in enough information, I could make a pretty sweet video about this comparing what these guys do that just makes them so much better. So instead of just Riven, I branched out and watched any replay that I could find, any replay I could get my hands on, and I would spend hours and hours just looking at the first 10 minutes of a game sometimes, speed it up, and just follow the jungler on his pathing. You see, this video isn't just going to be me saying, yeah, they're better, because everybody knows that. That's already known information. But what I was interested in is exactly what they're doing that makes them better. So I made sure that I got enough information for this, and I wouldn't just give you guys a shit video, because I know you guys trusted my word, and I wouldn't want you to think any other thing about me that I would just give you some crappy reasons like they farm better. No shit. So let's dive into the differences of the players and how we can compare and contrast them. The biggest and the first thing that I noticed is that the players are mean, and when I say mean, I mean ruthless. If your flash is on cooldown and the entire team knows, they will make sure that you know that they know your flash is on cooldown. They will constantly camp and beat the crap out of somebody who has no flash or is behind and feeding. They don't care if you're 0-4, they will 3-man dive you. The support will roam top, the top will TP to bot lane on cooldown, and they will not let up pressure. All of this stems from the central idea of understanding cooldowns. These players know not only to track the cooldowns, but how to play around that and abuse it. Obviously, if they chat in Korean, I do not understand it, but they are very good about communicating even in English, just saying something like top flash 2320 or whatever is down top no R. They're able to communicate this quite frequently, and they know how to take their lead and shove it down your throat. After watching these games, it really does make sense why the Korean open mid is a thing. It's so common in Korea because other players know that the players on the enemy team are good enough and smart enough to not only not throw their lead, but to snowball it out of control, and it just becomes unfun. We can use this same principle to understand why it's so early game focused. The games in Korea are much more based on early power. Rivens, for example, will start Doran's Blade and take no CDR in the runes so they can prioritize early stats. Junglers will build Moby boots quite a bit more, and they don't care about farming if they know they can get a successful gank off. Players adapt and know how to play just like Faker. You know how in basketball people say, play like Mike, you gotta be just like Mike? Well, you gotta be just like Faker. Faker showed that playing aggressive is the correct way to play as long as you're calculated about it. The reason why it's so important to play aggressive and shove in your lane is because even though if you're shoving and you are more likely to be ganked, it makes it so you get all the wards. Somebody who's constantly shoved to their tower does not get to place down any vision and will not see any dives coming. But even if you play forward and even if you're more likely to be ganked, you know ahead of time that it's coming and be prepared for it. Players are smart enough to use their abilities and spells on cooldown. The Lee Sin junglers will not just sit on their ultimate and be farming while their flash is up. They will be ready to gank as it is coming up and move towards a lane. They use and abuse their cooldowns. They also play around snowballing and killing. You rarely see farming be a big factor. The big thing that I noticed is that the teams are much more willing to sacrifice their lane and their farm if it means they get a greater value out of it, as they should. That's the correct play. Maybe NA players don't know what the greater cause is and don't understand what actually is worth. I'm serious, the early parts of these games are crazy. They're absolutely insane. I cannot make this up. I was literally just watching this replay because I wanted good Zed footage for when I was talking about Zed being permabanned a little bit later. And seriously, watch, I was just trying to get Zed footage and then this happened. The aggressiveness is very calculated and very formed, and they don't waste their flash for no reason. Even if they are behind, they are still quite greedy with it. Players are more willing to die once or twice if it means the enemy has to blow flash and they don't. Because they know the jungler can come top when the enemy doesn't have flash, they can play around that very smart. More specifically to the Riven players I watch, they don't care about playing for late game. They take the runes and the masteries and the items that let them win lane on their first completed item. The players are smart about not caring what the OP item is at the moment, but rather building what helps them win the lane that they are in. This seems like an obvious point, but you would be surprised how many Riven players will rush a Black Cleaver first item against something like Rumble rather than a Hex Drinker and Lifesteal. Another big thing that caught my eye is the sheer number of assassin bans. According to op.gg, Zed is nearly permanently banned, and this could be for a few reasons. If you don't know, Zed is much lower on the ban priority for NA than it is in Korea, and I even think that Zed myself is not that good of a champion at the moment, but the reason he's permanently banned could be either that the players are just flat out better at him, which absolutely makes sense, or it could be who they're facing against. Especially for Challenger Elo, do you really want to play against Faker's Zed? But the rest of the assassin bans are probably because of the idea that the game gets snowballed so hard and out of control in Korea that there's almost nothing you can do. A 3-0 Zed in Korea seems a lot scarier than a 3-0 Zed in NA. Part of this could be that the assassins require a high amount of skill, and having the constant 10 ping makes it easier to dodge skill shots and play smarter as a champion that gets completely wrecked by CC. There also seems to be a big difference in the champions that people do play and main. In Korea, even though the game is all about the early game and snowballing, there are a lot more Gangplank players and Gangplank one-tricks, and some champions that are immensely popular in NA, such as Renekton, hardly have anyone in Challenger playing him. Master Yi is also somebody that is gaining a lot of ground at the moment, but I think it could just be coincidence and not really any reason behind it except for maybe the Blade of the Ruined King buffs. The players in Korea not only care more, but they also have been caring for longer, and this matters. The old saying is that it takes 10,000 hours to master any skill, and funny enough, there are over twice as many players that play in Korea, partly because there's a big incentive because you have perfect 8 to 10 ping every game, but if you actually op.gg stock the players in high elo Korean solo queue, you will notice that every account, or almost every single account, has their rank from Season 2 or Season Season 3 recorded. But why does that matter? Why does it matter that they have their rank? Even if they were silver or gold, why does it matter that they have their Season 2 rank on there? The reason that this is significant is not only because it does prove that some 90% of the players have been playing since the early seasons in high elo, so they have a lot more experience overall, but it also shows that they've been playing ranked the whole time. Seriously, if you compare NA high elo to Korean high elo, many of the accounts in NA do not have a rank recorded before Season 3 or Season 4, and sometimes in NA there are players who have several Challenger accounts. Challenger can be far less than 200 players in NA because some players just fill up multiple slots. The competition in the North American region is so low that somebody like PewDiePie alone can have like 5 of the top 200 accounts in the entire region. Obviously he's a great player and there's a reason for it, but there's no way he should have like 4 Challenger accounts. For me personally, I started playing in Season 5 and I started playing ranked in Season 6, and I peaked in D2 this season, and there is no way in hell, or at least I don't think there would be any way I could be anywhere near that elo in Korea, because I would need to be a lot more experienced and been playing for much longer than it takes to be that elo in NA. Hopefully this clears up some things and makes it quite obvious why the players are so much better. They get to practice and play on lower ping, they care more and play a lot more ranked games, they have much more to work with. More players equal more competition and lower queue times. More players also means less boosted players and more legitimate matches, and more open mid games means that the game takes less time on average, giving you more time to spam solo queue. To be honest with you, with the pros having to play with 60 plus ping out in California and only having 1 million players to even play ranked in the North American region, there is almost no way that NA catches up anytime soon. And I don't mean to be a cynic, but the rest of the world has a lot of catching up to do with Korea, and Korea will most likely be the best region for at least the next 5 years, until we can get several servers across NA so everyone can have less than 30 ping, until we get more players to play ranked and care about playing ranked rather than just some goddamn ARAM games, and until we learn to be smarter about abusing cooldowns and playing around win conditions, we aren't winning worlds anytime soon. I appreciate you watching the video this far, and if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. Thank you very much, and I will see you tomorrow.